Hello, hello, this is Jeremy Bradshaw. Welcome you to my vlog. Here are the questions I had for my teacher interview. How often do you use technology in your classroom? What kind of technology do you and the students use? What apps or websites do you think are best for your classes? Do you think it is important to have technology-free moments in your lessons, or even whole lessons tech-free? How do you assess the use of technology in your classes? What do you do to differentiate tech use in your classroom? Should tech be used in the same way for all grade levels? How has the use of tech in the classroom changed since you were a student all those many years ago? What downsides, if any, do you see to the use of tech in the classroom? I asked a design teacher, my colleague Mr. Conrad, to answer these questions. He answered them in the same order, thusly. How often do you use technology in your classroom? Daily. I always use the projector to project a resource site that I use to assist students with their projects. Various websites and apps are also used during the lessons. What kind of technology do you and the students use? Students use Chromebooks, and I use a MacBook Air. Which apps or websites do you think are best for your classes? I tend to use the Google Suite, as the tools are something that they come in contact with during other classes. I also like to use resources that get them excited about the topic we are using. Because I might not always know what these resources might be, I usually provide a list of apps or websites that they should look at first, but allow them to explore other options. I feature these options on my own website, which is an integral part of my lessons. Do you think it is important to have technology-free moments in your lessons, or even whole lessons tech-free? Absolutely. I think that the hands-on approach is important, both for my subject and for child development. Using one's hands to build products is a great way to learn from mistakes and build on new skill sets. How do you assess the use of technology in your classes? This depends. For the current unit of inquiry, the students are completing formative tasks in Scratch. The purpose is for them to learn the mechanics of the software for later implementation in a larger project. I assess their understanding of the software by looking to see if they have understood the basic concepts and utilize them in their formative projects. The teaching of these concepts are communicated through a video that students can follow along with at their own pace. What do you do to differentiate tech use in your classroom? Aside from the use of video tutorials, which also help students who are new to the English language, I also modify tasks for some students. This may involve paring down the vocabulary or even the requirements. Sometimes I allow students to demonstrate their learning orally, and we can have a discussion about the topic. Should tech be used in the same way for all grade levels? I think this would be a mistake. Technology should be used as a tool to spark interest and convey content. Whereas older students might use technology to organize information, such as a website, younger students require perhaps a more playful use of technology, i.e., gamification. How has the use of tech in the classroom changed since you were a student? Technology was not digital when I was in school. The first Mac computer, the Mac 1, had been released, but most teachers didn't know how to use it, so it was mostly used for games and typing. What downside, if any, do you see to the use of tech in the classroom? It can splinter the focus of a class if each student is allowed to work independently on his or her own apps or websites. It's difficult to maintain continuity of the class and monitor student understanding. I will now go through my lesson plan analysis of Mr. Conrad's technology-enabled lesson. Please see the attached document for the action lesson plan. So, this lesson is part of a unit involving the design of popsicle bridges. As such, the lesson has an adequate level of tech integration, as the students are required to work on the physical bridges in this lesson as well. So, as per ISTE Standard 4A, dedicate planning time to collaborate with colleagues to create authentic learning experiences that leverage technology. The teacher has the students begin the lesson by creating a plan in Google Docs. As the class progresses, the students are to use their phones to document their individual process. This relates to ITSE Standard 5A. Use technology to create, adapt, and personalize learning experiences that foster independent learning and accommodate learner differences and needs. The teacher is working as a facilitator as per ITSE Standard 6A. Foster a culture where students take ownership of their learning goals and outcomes in both independent and group settings. The documentation is then uploaded to the Google Doc at the lesson's conclusion and meets ITSE Standard 7A. Provide alternative ways for students to demonstrate competency and reflect on their learning using technology. One suggestion for improvement on this lesson plan would be the use of dedicated class iPads or tablets to undertake the documentation role, as this at the moment requires students to bring their own phones. Now, no doubt students will be very pleased to use their phones in class, something they are not otherwise allowed to do. However, they may forget or not have a phone. Otherwise, I thought the lesson plan had a very well adequate, if not perfect almost, example of technology integration. My checklist of 5 items or questions to help guide my own technology-enabled lessons are as follows. Dedicate planning time to collaborate with colleagues to create authentic learning experiences that leverage technology. Very important. Use technology to create, adapt, and personalize learning experiences that foster independent learning and accommodate learner differences and needs. Foster a culture where students take ownership of their learning goals and outcomes in both independent and group settings. Provide alternative ways for students to demonstrate competency and reflect on their learning using technology. Students articulate and set personal learning goals. Develop strategies leveraging technology to achieve them and reflect on the learning process itself to improve learning outcomes.